cosplay photography kasi hindi ako marunong mag-drawing, plainly put. Pero feeling ko, nung bata pa ako noon, I thought I was I still think I am, the creative type. And so I tried different forms of art. I mean, I studied painting when grade school. Tapos I got into graphic design nung high school and college, eventually laying out magazines for my first job. But for the life of me, I can't draw for shit. So it was my frustration of being an artist. And it just so happens na when I got into photography in college, thanks to the influence ng cousin ko, I was able to find that release or that expression through photography. And back then, I didn't exactly know how to put together my love for pop culture because I'm a geek and photography. And I was one of those budding photographers trying to find their lens or their eye in the field. I wanted to bring both together. And the time na yon, I didn't even know the term cosplay photography. I had no knowledge of that. I just wanted to realize the superheroes or the childhood imagination ko nun. So, I was doing a couple of exhibits now with Crucible Gallery, working on more fantasy themes. And themes that give ode to vintage concepts, old movies, and all that. So eventually, I guess it was starting to creep into cosplay territory because the concepts started becoming more pop culture-ish. I was doing lots of old ads na references, and the first quote-unquote cosplay shoot that we did was with Rian Ramos when she cosplayed Rogue for us. And funny kwento dyan, it was me and Rafi. We were eating in a back then hole-in-the-wall dim sum place sa bandang Gilmore. Medyo maganda na siya ngayon. So, nung time na yon, they were playing reruns ng X-Men the Animated Series. Yung ta-na-na-na-na-na, ta-na-na-na-na-na, gano'n. So parang, let's push it. Sabi ko, sino kayang character pwede? Tapos sabi ni Rafi, si Rogue. Kasi lumilipad si Rogue ng time na yun. Sabi ko, who's the closest one? Who's the friend whom we could egg into this? So, buti naman, willing victim si Rian. Willing victim, but she became our muse for like several cosplay shoots then down the line. But yun, so Rian was our first cosplay shoot. Given kasi yung frustration ko of being an artist, eventually I started experimenting more and more into the post-production aspect. In my eyes, I never wanted my photos to look like photos to begin with in cosplay. So the more I want those people to look like illustrations and characters in the comic books. Hence, if you look at the body of work over time, a lot of it is really products of trial and error. Not a lot of people may like it. Some people like it. Some people don't. At the end of the day, I don't really give a crap. But for me, it's really my expression out of it and my journey of frustration in trying to achieve an artist on an illustration look using photography. So, that became sort of like, I guess, the signature style namin or the theme when it comes to producing all these cosplay shoots. We never wanted our images to look like pictures in the first place. I wanted it as close to comic book illustrations or anime illustrations as possible. I'll be the first one to admit na I really use extensive post-production in Photoshop. Alright? But I guess if you critique, there are two sides of the coin. There is art direction and there is concept. Alright, so what do I mean by that? It's the idea and execution. So parang whenever some people will say, oh, there's too much Photoshop in this. I mean, okay, but are you critiquing the concept that it's overly Photoshopped or the quality, how bad it was Photoshopped? Hard to say eh. So parang sometimes I get triggered, but I tend to catch myself and say, what does he mean by that? Is it really just bad photoshopping or the idea of photoshopping an image is bad? So, you tend to draw the line which is which. Because if you look at comic book movie posters, MCU, DCEU and all that, hell, those are heavily photoshopped images in the first place. Why can't they comment, oh, it's heavily photoshopped? I mean, at the end of the day, whether it was, amateur work, I would say amateur because, it's not official work versus the official work ng mga movie posts and all that. At whether yun siya or the official work, both had some level of post-production done on them. I'll be the first one to say nga na I don't want to be labeled as a photographer. Kasi nowadays, writer ka man, photographer ka, videographer, illustrator, artist, it's all creative output. It's the medium. Pero at the end of the day, the creative processes are all the same. Hence, if you see, if you notice in my talks, I've been such a fan of the word Imagineer. It was a word that Walt Disney came up years ago to those people who were building the rides in Disneyland, and it's a mash of imagination and engineering. Imagineering, and these are the ones who can think and execute. At the end of the day, whatever medium we use, whether it was photography, illustration, and all that, we all process creativity the same way. So we are all Imagineers. I'd be happy to drop the photographer title or photographer label because creativity is all the same. I really just wanted to be a photographer, and the geekiness never really made its way agad. But I knew I loved anime, I loved comics, but it was, I considered them separated worlds. I was a photographer and I was a geek. Totally different lives, so to speak. But slowly, the worlds started colliding, especially when you see a lot of superhero movies coming up, especially X-Men, unang X-Men mismo no 2000, like 18 years ago. Oh my God, dito age check. Here's an interesting thing. The second angle why I got into cosplay photography was sort of like it's passion / marketing. All right. I mean, if you look at the industry, there's so many photographers out there already, diba? So how do you stand out in the market? You use what you love. You use your passions and you mix it into the execution. And photography is the execution. And so happens to be cosplay is the passion, or pop culture is the passion. Madaming photographers out there who are cool, rock stars sila, ganon. I tried the route, but for the life of me, guys, I am not cool. I am a nerd. I am a geek. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of comics in high school. Well into college, I was a programmer. Started out as a programmer. I knew how to code back then. I don't know now. Wala na. Kakabasa pa, but rather live another life as a photographer and try to appear like, a facade of that. Hindi eh. Labag talaga sa loob ko nun eh. Sabi ko, wow, I'm a diehard, I'm a geek. And how can I integrate that into my photography? And the cosplay label wasn't even there yet. I just like I said, early on, I just wanted to merge my love for both. And how can I execute it? As the concept started becoming more fantastic, quote unquote, that's when, pwede. So the nerd side, the geek side, and the photographer side started to merge together. By training, I wanted to do fashion. I shot, fashion, beauty, advertising, because I found my path there, and that's where I was able to create a business out of this. That being said, cosplay photography is the merge of several known genres. It's combining landscape, fashion, and even portraiture, because cosplay photography is a characterization which entails an environment, the person, and the character. When I got into photography, I really loved photography for photography's sake. I didn't think of cosplay right away. One of the biggest advice I would give, you get into photography and you have to love the entirety of photography. You just don't get into it just because you like cosplay or you like shooting girls or you like shooting whatever. You take it all in and you become the holistic student of photography. Then eventually when you start learning a lot of these techniques from other genres, then you could start incorporating it into the type of photography that you like to do. I picked up a lot of techniques in other genres and started putting them into cosplay photography in the hopes of trying to make my images look a little bit different. So moving forward, beyond shooting the cosplayers, I started to learn how to shoot special effects. How to capture water in mid-air, smoke, explosions, laser lights, great beams of light, whatever. You know, something that you can shoot using with practical effects. Because I realized also that if you were to extend or suspend the imagination of the viewer looking at your cosplay work, the illusion has to be complete. Na you don't stick just with the person, but you have to extend your knowledge how to create the world around that person, whether it be the superpower or the items or the props that they may use.